This is a procedural motion that you won't see real often on the floor of the House, and there's a reason for doing this, and I'll try and explain to you. If you look on your computer, you can see the language in the bill is very short, but it has a specific purpose. And I'm going to give you a little background information so you understand why we're moving this through at rather a rapid pace. Prior to this legislative session, the legislative branch did not provide an online system through which citizens in the state may track legislation. Through the years, anyone who was willing to pay for the legislation tracking system had to pay a subscription fee to get access to the service from the North Dakota State University. So that is the way it used to be. As we modernized our whole technology department and services that we have on the floor of the House, we set up a tracking system. Legislative Procedures and Arrangements, of which I chair, approved the development of a new legislative website and a new bill tracking system that was designed to provide easy access for our citizens, and you as well as if you need it, to follow any of the issues and tracking legislation as it moved through our process. The application allows the user to create a tracking list and allows the user to include comments and descriptions of each bill of the user picks on that list. So the purpose of this bill is really kind of the title that I gave it is to track the tracker. We've had requests from people to get all the comments that anybody put on the bill that they're tracking so they could track everybody that has any kind of an interest in any legislation in North Dakota. It was a track the tracker. It was never intended for that purpose as we established this system that if you are following a bill, and if you were to get on there, I'll just give you an example if you ever want to use the system. If you log on as an internet user or a state agency user, the legislators were considered state agency users, and you log in with the same account you use on your computer, and once in the system you can create a list and add bills to your list to track. Notifications can be set up to alert you of any actions regarding the bills you're tracking. Pretty slick system. It works, and we want transparency. We want our people to be engaged and to follow bills. I don't think our intention ever was to have somebody to track the bills that you are tracking. It'd be like having the guy that, the pro-gun guy tracking everything the anti-gun did and then have all of his comments and use them against him because he had public record to get at it on the system. Now, Council believes that we are probably covered with this with our existing laws, and they came to us. I didn't ask for the bill to be moved up. They came and said, we need to address this issue because there are requests out there, and we think that it's a violation of what the purpose of this whole thing is to allow somebody else to read somebody else's notes that they made on a bill. So we brought this forward to recommendation, and that bill was introduced last week, and it was set for hearing in Judiciary, but they came down to me and said, we really should move this along, and if we pass this today, which I hope we do, we'll message it to the Senate right away. They'll get it signed, and we'll get it down to the governor, so there's no question at the present time, there are 1,200 users tracking legislation through the session. That's exactly what we wanted to happen, is to have people follow the process and get engaged in the legislation that we're passing on them. And the bill is designed to protect the privacy of all citizens using the application. Development and implementation of an application that citizens will not use because of privacy concern absolutely makes no sense to me. So I would hope that you would pass this bill, send it on to the Senate. There is no boogeyman in here, but what it is an honest intention on our part to make it more accessible without realizing that someone would want to use that for other purposes. So I would hope, Mr. Speaker, members of the Assembly, that we would pass this bill forward, the tracker bill, as I call it, and make it so that people want to use our system without fear of ramifications of having any comments on these bills that would come and be used at a later point in time. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chief Clerk, I believe I was negligent in not having you read the title of the bill. Do you wish to do that before we move further discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1186, introduced by Representative Carlson and Senator Wardner. House Bill 1186 is a bill for an act to create and enact a new section to Chapter 44-04 of the North Dakota Century Code relating to access to records relating to legislative bill tracking systems and to declare an emergency. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Clerk. Representative Carlson, did you want to repeat those remarks, or otherwise I'll move to the next speaker?
Our highly technical system won't let me take my speak button off.
It will in a moment, Mr. Representative Carlson. Representative Onstead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the Assembly. I understand the reason behind the bill, and we're there to try and protect the system, and there are some unintended consequences that occurred, and I do plan to support this bill. But more often, we do have a process to remind everybody, we do have a process here in our Assembly that really every bill is heard and so on, and we're bypassing that process. You know, it is a procedural thing. It seems to be allowable, but could it have been heard, could have been laid out there and expressed it, you know, is always a concern. And I just want to say we do have a process to hear these bills. I understand the reasons why we're doing that, but we are bypassing something that's been really integral to our process. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you will look to support this legislation and move it on. Thank you.
Representative Carlson.
Mr. Speaker, just one last comment. I've been here 20 years, and I don't remember this ever being used. So it's not an abused system that we're dealing with, and I appreciate the comments by the minority leader. But when you get emails to council that say, I want copies of all made on bills by users of the state bill tracking system, all bills. I would like an electronic copy, and I would like all comments from the day the system is operable. That's really a violation of our citizens' privacy there, and I hope we pass this.